is again conspiring to create anarchy and terrorism in the name of movement, as the party failed in its movement and in foiling the elections.
আন্দোলনে ব্যর্থতা এবং নির্বাচন ঠেকাতে ব্যর্থতার পর বিএনপি আবারও দেশে আন্দোলনের নামে বিশৃঙ্খলা ও সন্ত্রাস সৃষ্টির পায়তারা করছে। সমাবেশ থেকে সহিংসতা, নৈরাজ্য, এটাই বিএনপির রাজনীতি। তাই আমাদের সবাইকে সতর্ক থাকতে হবে। খালেদা জিয়ার চিকিৎসা নিয়ে যারা রাজনীতি করে তারা দেশের বিরুদ্ধে যে কোনো ধরনের ষড়যন্ত্র, অপরাজনীতি করতে পারে।
The Road Transport and Bridges Minister said conspiracies are going on against the Upazila Parishad elections, but the ruling Awami League will not involve itself with any chaos. He also said all should remain cautious as Sheikh Hasina government is still in the state power with the power of people.
যে ভূমিকাটা নিয়েছিল আরো কোন দেশ, ভারত কিন্তু তখন একটা কথা বলে এবং আমাদের ভোটাররা ভোট দিয়েছে। নিজের দেশকে এত খাটো করা এটা বয়সদের পক্ষে সম্ভব, যেটা বাস্তব নয়, এই মিথ্যাচার তাদের রাজনীতি, সেটাই তারা করছে। ভোটারদের ভয় পায় বলে তারা ভোটে আসে না, এটা এখন প্রতিষ্ঠিত হয়ে গেছে।
Awami League President members Dr. Abdul Razak, Mufazzal Hussain Chaudhry Maya, Kamrul Islam and Jahangir Kabir Nanok, Joint General Secretaries Dr. Hassan Mahmud, Mahbubul Alam Hanif and Dr. Dipu Moni were present among others at the program. Foreign Minister and Awami League Joint General Secretary Dr. Hassan Mahmud said secularism is the main driving force of the nation and the Pohela Boishakh festival is the symbol of secularism. He made the comment while addressing the Boishakhi Utshab organized by Foreign Ministry and Foreign Office Spouses Association as the chief guest at Foreign Service Academy in the capital today. The Foreign Minister said the Pohela Boishakh festival, which became a universal festival irrespective of caste and religion under the leadership of Bangabandhu's daughter Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, has now become the embodiment of our secularism. Chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Ministry Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen and Foreign Secretary Masood bin Momen also addressed the function. Member of the Parliamentary Committee on Foreign Ministry Shahriar Alam, envoys from different countries and members of Foreign Ministry and Foreign Office Spouses Association were present at the program. Earlier, replying to journalists' queries, Foreign Minister Dr. Hassan Mahmud welcomed David Slayton Meal's nomination as the new US Ambassador to Bangladesh.
মার্কিন যুক্তরাষ্ট্র নতুন রাষ্ট্রদূত নিয়োগের বিষয়টি অফিশিয়ালি অ্যানাউন্স করেছে এবং সিনেটে সেখানে একটি হিয়ারিং হয়, এরপরে তার নিয়োগটা নিশ্চিত হয়। আমি এই নিয়োগকে স্বাগত জানাই। আমরা আশা করব যে নতুন রাষ্ট্রদূতের মাধ্যমে আমাদের যে উষ্ণ সম্পর্ক সেটি আরও উষ্ণতর হবে এবং যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের সাথে যে আমাদের বহুমাত্রিক সহযোগিতার খাতগুলো রয়েছে সেগুলো আরও দৃঢ় হবে এবং আরও বিস্তৃত হবে।
Responding to another query from journalists on the recent White House comment on human rights situation in Bangladesh, Dr. Hassan Mahmud said no country in the world is perfect regarding the human rights issue.
Human rights in no country is perfect. Nowhere in the world is perfect. ইসরায়েলের চরম মানবাধিকার লঙ্ঘন, বিশ্ব সংস্থা জাতিসংঘকে বৃদ্ধাঙ্গুলি প্রদর্শন এবং মানবাধিকারকে ভুলণ্ঠিত করা, মানবতাকে ভুলণ্ঠিত করার প্রতিবাদে যখন ইউরোপের বিভিন্ন দেশে বিক্ষোভ হচ্ছে, সেই বিক্ষোভকেও পুলিশ যেভাবে দমন করছে, আজকেই পত্রিকার বাংলাদেশের বিভিন্ন পত্রপত্রিকার পাতায় সেই ছবি ছাপানো হয়েছে। সুতরাং মানবাধিকার কোনো জায়গায় পারফেক্ট নয়। আমাদের দেশে অনেক দেশের তুলনায় মানবাধিকার অনেক ভালো। আমাদের দেশে ছাত্ররা বিক্ষোভ করলে যেভাবে অন্যান্য দেশে এখন দমন করা হচ্ছে, আমাদের দেশে সেভাবে দমন করা হয়নি অতীতে। যখন মার্শাল ল ছিল তখন হয়েছে, আইয়ুব খানের সময় হয়েছে, ইয়াহিয়া খানের সময় হয়েছে, জিয়া রহমানের সময় হয়েছে, এরশাদের সময় হয়েছে। কিন্তু আমরা ক্ষমতায় আসার পর এভাবে মানুষ, অর্থাৎ ছাত্ররা বিক্ষোভ করার পর অনেক ক্ষেত্রেই ছাত্ররা বিক্ষোভ করেছে, সেভাবে দমন করা হয়নি।
State Minister for Information and Broadcasting Muhammad Ali Arafat emphasized on investment in the cultural sector to move Bangladesh forward with the spirit of liberation war and non-sectarian values. He made the comment while addressing the second day of National Robindra Sangeet Festival as the chief guest at Shilpakola Academy in the capital today. President of Bangladesh Robindra Sangeet Shilpo Sangstha Sajid Akbar presided over the function, which was also addressed by Robindra Sangeet artist Irfat Ara Dewan and General Secretary of Robindra Sangeet Shilpi Sangstha Dr. Mokbul Hussain. The State Minister for Information and Broadcasting said Rabindranath Tagore and Robindra Sangeet are closely related to Bangladesh. Muhammad Ali Arafat called upon the artist community to build a modern and liberal society through practicing Robindra Sangeet.
গত 15 বছরে অর্থনৈতিক দিক থেকে এবং অবকাঠামোগত উন্নয়নের জায়গা থেকে আমরা অনেক অর্জন করেছি। সামনে আরো আমাদের এগিয়ে যেতে হবে, কোনো সন্দেহ নেই। তবে আমি বিশ্বাস করি আগামী দিনগুলোতে সংস্কৃতির জন্য আমাদের আরো অনেক বেশি বিনিয়োগ দরকার। শুধু অর্থের বিনিয়োগ নয়, আমাদের আরো বেশি প্রচেষ্টার সময়, আমাদের শ্রম, আমাদের মেধা এখানে বিনিয়োগ করতে হবে। কারণ সংস্কৃতির পিছিয়ে বিনিয়োগের মধ্য দিয়ে একটা উদারনৈতিক স্বপ্নের, যে মুক্তিযুদ্ধের যে স্বপ্নের বাংলাদেশ, সেই বাংলাদেশের একটা মূল্যবোধের জায়গা তৈরি হবে। আমরা অর্থনৈতিকভাবে এগিয়ে যাচ্ছি, আমাদের পার ক্যাপিটা ইনকাম বাড়ছে, আমাদের দারিদ্র্য কমছে, এখানে মানুষ স্বাস্থ্য সেবা, শিক্ষা সবকিছুতে মানুষের উন্নততর একটি জীবনের দিকে এগুচ্ছে। সব আমরা এগুচ্ছি, কিন্তু একই সাথে মূল্যবোধের উন্নয়নের জন্য, এগিয়ে যাওয়ার জন্য সংস্কৃতির পিছিয়ে বিনিয়োগ প্রয়োজন।
Young and old artists enthralled listeners with Tagore's music after the discussion. There are directives in the national logistic policy to turn Bangladesh into a developed, rich and smart nation by 2041 through attaining the target of national growth as well as capacity building for trade and investment. And insiders say this policy puts emphasis on proper use of land, road infrastructure, river, sea and air routes. Analysts say the national logistic policy will help draw foreign investments in the infrastructural sector. In addition, this policy will play a vital role in moving locally produced goods to markets at home and abroad. The government has introduced the national logistic policy for the first time in order to keep the wheels of the national economy moving by saving transportation cost of goods and time as well as ensuring the supply chain. Experts say the export volume will increase by over 7% if transportation cost of goods reduces by 1% through this policy. In the past 1.5 decades, there have been a revolutionary progress in the communication sector of the country. At the same time, capacities of river, land and airports increased to a great extent. Following the developments, the government came forward to introduce the national logistic policy. Now, international news. Heavy fighting underway in Gaza's southern Rafah as Hamas fighters fire rockets and mortars and detonate explosive devices with Israeli troops and tanks pushing deeper into the city. An estimated 80,000 Palestinians have fled Rafah and thousands more are attempting to leave as Israel's ground invasion ramps up. Even without a full-scale Israeli ground invasion, Rafah's medical facilities have been overwhelmed. Medics say more than 1 million people sheltering in the southern Gaza city are at risk of being deprived of healthcare after the Israeli military began a limited operation against Hamas on its eastern outskirts on Monday. The largest of the city's 3 partially functioning hospitals, Abu Yusuf, al-Najjar had to be hostility abandoned the following day after staff received an evacuation order and there was fighting nearby. The hospital's dialysis department had been the only surviving one in Gaza, a lifeline for patients suffering kidney failure. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel can stand alone after the US warned it could halt arms shipments if the Israeli Prime Minister ordered a full-scale invasion of Rafah in Gaza. Earlier, US President Joe Biden said he would withhold some arms including artillery shells in Rafah was invaded. The US has already paused a shipment of bombs over fears of civilian deaths. Meanwhile, the Israeli army takeover of the Rafah border crossing has shut down the entry of aid into Gaza for the past 3 days, completely crippling humanitarian operations as famine spreads, the UN says. Hundreds of students protesting the war in Gaza have marched to Oxford to deliver a list of demands. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has asked Western countries for more weapons. He said that if the supply of weapons is increased, they will be able to stop Russian forces. He made the remarks at a joint press conference with Roberta Metsola, President of the European Parliament, who is visiting Ukraine. The Ukrainian President said the advanced arms supplies. Maximum pressure is being put on partners to increase arms supplies. Meanwhile, Russia launched a missile attack on the northeastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. 3 houses caught fire and two people were injured. Local officials said the attack took place in the early hours of this morning. The city's mayor, Ihor Tekhrov, said an S-300 missile crashed in the city. 26 buildings were damaged. 2 of the buildings were completely destroyed. Troops from the United States and the Philippines have launched Javelin missiles and fired howitzer to simulate repelling a maritime invasion along the coast of the South China Sea. The live fire exercises were held throughout the week along the shores of the coastal city of Lawag in northern Ilocos province, the closest mainland Philippine province to China. They capped the largest ever balikatan or shoulder-to-shoulder joint military exercises between US and Philippine troops, cementing a dramatic policy shift that has seen Washington and Manila become close allies since Ferdinand Marcos Jr. became president in 2022. Tensions have risen amid multiple confrontations between Philippine vessels and the China Coast Guard in the South China Sea. China claims almost the entire area under its 9-dash line, which was rejected by an international tribunal in 2016. Now, weather. Met Office in its weather forecast till 6 p.m. tomorrow said rain or thunder showers accompanied by temporary gusty or squally wind is likely to occur at many places over Dhaka, Mymensingh, Khulna, Bodishal, Chattogram and Silla divisions and at a few places over Rajshahi and Rangpur divisions with hills at isolated places. Day and night temperature may remain nearly unchanged over the country, said the Met Office. Now, news and sports. Bangladesh beat Zimbabwe by 5 runs in the 4th match of the 5-match series in Mirpur today. Earlier, batting first after losing the toss, Bangladesh were all out for 143 runs in 19 overs 5 balls. Tanzid Hassan Tamim scored 52 of 37 balls and Shomo Sharkar scored 41 runs of 34 balls. In reply, Zimbabwe were all out in 138 runs in 19 overs 4 balls. Shakib Al Hassan bagged 4 wickets for 35 runs while Mustafizur Rahman took 3 for 19 runs. The Fiz was adjudged man of the match. Bangladesh have already secured the series and leading by 4-0. To end the bulletin, headlines once again. Government working to make each countryman economically solvent, developed, rich and smart Bangladesh to be formed within 2041, says Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina pays rich tribute to Father of the Nation Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in Tungipara. BNP again conspiring to create anarchy and terrorism in the name of movement in country after failing in its movement and in foiling elections, says Obaidul Qadir. Israel expands military operations in Gaza. Thousands of Palestinians are at risk as health system in Rafah collapsed. Anti-Israel protests going on in multiple countries, including the United States. And Bangladesh beat Zimbabwe by 5 runs in 4th T20 of 5-match series in Mirpur. That's all from the newsroom for the moment. Thank you for staying with us, and we invite you to watch our 11:30 Bangla News. Until then, Khoda Hafiz.